Hi folks, my name is Dan Landi. I'm running for school board in Cameron, and I'd like to talk to you today about some issues that are on my mind and hopefully answer some questions that are on your mind. I'm ready to begin.
Hey Dan, one of the questions that I have that a listener might want to know, I know that you are a retired highway patrolman.
Correct.
And you've been retired for how long?
For 1 year.
1 year.
Retired for a year.
So what in the world would make somebody come out of retirement to want to join the school board?
I felt like I had to because I've been an outspoken advocate for cleaning up the library, the dirty book business that we kind of refer to it as. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, we found close to 200 what I believe are sexually explicit, inappropriate books in our.
How many did you say?
Close to 200.
Wow.
Some with pictures, some without. Actually, most without. But regardless, they graphically describe sex scenes, drug scenes, rape scenes, suicide attempts. Just a lot of nonsense that I feel and a lot of other people feel don't have educational value. And so we're trying to clean up our library, clean up our classrooms. And so we have been fighting this fight since, well, I got involved in last February. So going on close to a year now. So not to get off on that road, this is about, not sexualizing our children. And that's what these books do. So anyway, that's what drew me in. Sad to admit, I've been living in the district for a little over 20 years. Two of my children went to Cameron School, and everybody's grown and left. Sad to admit, I've never been to a school board meeting until last February when I found this dirty book business. When I got into that, and then I started attending meetings and I started learning about how the school board works and how the district operates and chain of command and who's in charge of what.
So why do you think you didn't really attend board meetings?
Well, I trusted everybody there, and as most people do, look, these folks are highly educated, they're well trained, right? They meet state requirements. So in my mind, these are good people, and most teachers are. 90% of them, maybe even 95% of them, have nothing but the best, intentions for their students. I know that. But it's always the few that ruin the barrel, right? A few bad apples can ruin it all. And I think that's what's happening here with the librarian who's allowing this stuff to come in. But anyway, so yeah, back to the thing. So I never got involved before, and I was just kind of blind to the whole thing, and what I didn't know didn't hurt me, right? My kids were gone, so I figured I didn't have a dog in the fight anymore. But I realized I was wrong, and I neglected my civic duty. We should all keep an eye on our public servants. No matter if it's city council, school board, whatever, parks board. Whatever board, right? If they're there to serve the public, somebody needs to keep an eye on them. And again, not all politicians are bad, but all it takes is a couple to ruin it, and that's what we have. And so that's when I decided to get more involved, take the next step besides just ranting and raving at school board meetings, about this, that, and the other, to actually work, try to work from the inside. So
that would be my next question is, do you think you're going to be able to play nice?
I'm always nice. Well, yes. No, there's a difference. You can be firm, but be nice, right? Here's an old saying, and I'm full of old sayings, right? There's a time for sandpaper and a time for silk. And so, I can play nice, and I can be respectful, but sometimes things need to be said, right? Just call it what it is, and there's people that don't like that because they get their feelings hurt or they become offended for whatever reason. If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it.
It's not personal,
right? It's not personal. Look, we have got systemic problems in the school district with the school board, and I'll tell you the number one. With the school board in it of itself is transparency. They do more behind closed doors, which is illegal according to state statute, the Sunshine Law, right? Chapter 610 in Revised Statutes of Missouri. there's rules about open meetings, closed meetings, what you can discuss in a closed meeting, and I know for a fact they've been violating that. Um, uh, and speaking about things in closed meetings where they should be spoken about in open meetings. Policies, for instance. We've been harping on them for filing complaints with the school district for policy, for sunshine violations, because they're making policy behind closed doors when it should be something discussed in the open with public participation. So again, I understand why they do that, because there's nobody to criticize them. Nobody to stand in their way to push their whatever agenda they've got to push, right? I mean, if the public doesn't know, the public doesn't care.
So, what are some other? I know this. I know the book issue is a really hot topic for you, and you're very passionate about it.
Sure.
I also know that there are other very passionate things that are on your list that you're very passionate about as well. So you're not just, when people see Dan Landi's face, they don't just see the guy who fights and wants to ban books, or burn books, or whatever the thing happens to be out there. You're more than that. You're more than wanting that. So let's talk about some other things.
Some of the issues. Okay, great. There's an issue that but, the transparency, accountability. I'd say that's probably number two. Well, I think you can actually juggle those two. The book issue and the because they both cross over. I mean, one has to do with the other. And we got in this problem with the books because of lack of transparency. And now that we found the book, somebody needs to be held accountable. So there's your accountability part, right? But they refuse to do any of that. They don't want. They are protecting their own at the school district, in my opinion, just my opinion, and don't want to hold people accountable. Don't want to see someone get in trouble, maybe lose their job, or maybe lose a state certification. Whatever the consequences, that's not up for me to say. But somebody needs to answer for how these books get here. And so anyway, the accountability, transparency is huge. It's funny. Heath Gilbert mentioned that on the video last night I watched. That's at the school board meeting, where he made a great point. You hold me accountable when I step out of line or I do something I shouldn't say or whatever in a meeting. But where's accountability on your end? See, that was a great point. And so that's probably the second thing: the accountability and transparency. Third thing is there's been some parents that have approached me about the homeschool parents. Okay, there are, because of the issues in the school, right? Well, and some of the issues, bullying, drug use, things like that. Some of the parents are pulling their kids out. As you well know, right? Seeking alternative education for their kids, whether it's homeschool or private school, whatever, and again, parental choice, right? Hey, let's let the parents decide. But some of these parents still want their kids to play sports and blah blah blah, and they've talked to Matt Robinson, superintendent. He's not for it. In his opinion, if you don't go to school here, you shouldn't play sports here. And he's not.
Even though your tax dollars are.
That's right. Right. Doesn't matter about doesn't matter where your taxes go. If you're not in the classroom seat, and I think it's about the money personally. That's just my opinion. Because I think their grants and things they're funding. I think a lot of that comes from their attendance records. So if you're not in school, then then we're not getting credit for you. We're not getting money for you. So you're worthless basically. And so as a punishment, well, you can't play on our team unless you want to be a student. Then then we'll let you. That's again my opinion. But it makes sense to me. Anyway, so that's one of the things I'd like to see changed. And again, the parents have tried to go direct with Matt Robinson, and he doesn't want to hear it. So maybe as an insider, as a board member, I can present this to the board, in other venues. Other than, just board meetings, right? It's a one-sided conversation for starters, right? When you go, and Pam Mice, board president, said it last night because I watched the video. She said, that we're here to listen. This is your time to speak. We're here to listen. Okay, well, that's great. I mustn't be talking to a wall, because I need feedback. I need answers from you.
Conversation.
Yes. Let's talk about something. Let's talk about our problems here. Let's talk about, I want to hear your solutions to these problems. But they, no, we're here for you and we're just going to listen. What is that? See,
So tell me, how does the average parent go about getting answers from the school board? If you're on the school board, I mean, if I have a child that's in the school and you're elected, can I come and say, "Hey, Dan, can we have a conversation about bullying? My child was bullied in
yes,
the bathroom or
right.
whatever." Can we
Oh
have
yeah.
that conversation, or are those things that only you guys as school board members can
No,
discuss
no, no.
privately?
School board members work for the, work for the public. They're public servants. Okay, it's a voluntary position. It's not paid. It's a 3-year term. If I was elected to the board, any parent, right? Anyone in the district can approach me either in person, by phone, email, text, whatever. Hey, Mr. Landy, I've got a question. Can you ask or can you find out what's the answer to, whatever. And so, it would be my responsibility to try to get them an answer. And if I can't, then I, have to, try to obtain an answer from whoever's in the know. And so that's how it's supposed to work. Now I could not speak for the board as a whole about an issue, but I can speak for me, Dan Landy, as an individual citizen.
Okay.
Okay, my opinion of this matter is now the board as a whole, because the board has to vote on anything, right? The board takes a vote, hire, fire, policies, whatever. The board votes, and it's majority rule, simple majority. There's 7 members on the board, so a 4-person, is the majority. And again, I would be that one person, that may be 6-1 vote now, instead of a 7-0 vote. But still, I mean, I don't mind being that opposition guy. I don't. I mean, because I've got thick skin. I can, the criticism, it doesn't bother me. I don't take it personally, and it's one of those things where, you know, there are a lot of other issues that, a while ago, I'm a proponent of cameras in the classroom. Okay, why don't we have cameras in the classroom? But cameras are everywhere, you know, and they complain about, well, the kids on their cell phones. But I think those two go hand in hand, because some of the parents are going to say, well, I want my kid to have a phone. That way, if they're bullied or if a teacher does something inappropriately, they can record it. And I agree with that. But if we had cameras in the classrooms, that captured audio and video, then you wouldn't have to worry about it, because that should capture whatever incident happens in the classroom. Naturally, another one is the um, I got a lot of criticism on this one. School sports, um, and this not to do with homeschool kids. This is something a little different. Uh, the in my opinion, this is my opinion. The how do I word this without sounding? Yeah, I'll just say it. We don't put enough emphasis on academics, but we put plenty on sports. Now, the question is, are you sending your kid to school to get an education or to get an experience? Because that's something they say at the school board meetings every time. And usually Pam Mice, the president, says it in the beginning. She wants to remind everybody, our goals and objectives. I know they call it uh, mission statement or whatever it is, right? To provide our kids with an exceptional learning experience. Well, okay, yeah. It's good for kids to, broaden their horizons, and get out and socialize, play some sports, do some extracurriculars. I get that. That's great. I see value in that. I'm not saying to get rid of that, but not at the expense of education. See, I believe in the 3 R's. We need to get back to the basics. And sadly though, it's, I think that and this isn't a really dig on the teachers, but it's just the way things have gotten over the
So the
years.
3 R's for these moms and dads who are younger than us. What is that?
Well, it's not, it's called the 3 R's, but it's the reading, writing, arithmetic.
Right.
Arithmetic, but they just, to make it sound nice, they did arithmetic. Anyway, but just your core subjects, your basic subjects. If we can't master that, then why are we even worried about this other garbage? And so anyway, it's just to me, it's just very fundamental, very basic. Let's go back to the basics, and and it is old fashioned, and I don't mind saying it. I'm old, so what? But the point is,
But wanting your child to get an education is not old fashioned.
well, no, right.
I mean, that really is common sense.
It should be.
I want my child to go to school to get an education so that they can become a decent adult and
Right,
thrive
educated, responsible.
in the community.
Right. Sure, and be successful in life. You know, how many kids that that are on a football team are going to be a pro ball player, right? I mean, very few.
Right.
Considering the total number of football players in the country, on the high school level. It's just so let's prepare the ones that aren't going to be football players, to be successful in life, whatever they do. And anyway, so I would love to see, this. Let's get away from this new stuff, and I say new stuff like Common Core math, like DEI, diversity,
Equality.
equality and inclusivity or include whatever. All this social stuff, all this social whatever, because I don't know. It's just I think it's just bad for the kids. I think it's a bad plan. Back in March, April timeframe, when we really started hitting the school district hard with this book issue, they changed one of their policies to where they said, okay, well, from now on, and I think this was late spring, early summer, from now on, we're going to restrict talking to the school people, the parents of the school district that wanted to come up to the podium and say a few words about, their thoughts. They said, okay, from now on, if you guys talk about books this month, you have to wait for 3 more months before you can introduce that subject again to the board. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, what happened to the First Amendment? What happened to, caring about the parents? Like they always say, oh, we care about you, you're a stakeholder, blah, 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 Really? Is that how you treat people you care about? You gag them for 3 months. They can't
Right.
talk about, whatever the issue is. It could be books, it could be bullying, it could be smoking dope in a bathroom, which happens in Cameron High School. But still, so they gag us for 3 months. Okay, well, to me that's not right, and that's definitely going to be something I want to change. But the point to that is, why, you know, why do they do that? To silence us. They don't want to hear it. Okay, maybe we struck a nerve. Maybe oh yeah, they're right. We got to do something about this. Give them time to work on it.
But honestly, I mean, it's like if you're going before the school board and you show up every month with the same issue, it's like this is something that really is going on. I need you people to help me address
Sure.
this
Right.
because it's not getting resolved.
Right.
And I would say somebody coming back time and time again because there's a need to do so.
Well, this leads us back to that conversation about the book review committee, because that was theirs. Okay, during those 3 months that we had this gag order on us, okay, they formed a committee. Well, the principal of the high school, the vice principal, the librarian, English teacher, and a citizen from the community, right, were appointed. It's a 5-person panel to review these books and decide, okay, we're going to do 3 things with them: keep them without restriction, keep them but restrict them, or get rid of them altogether. So they, the principal, assistant principal, librarian, and English teacher. Well, the librarian, we knew that was a bad plan, because now you're asking a librarian who allowed these books in to review the books to see if they want to keep them or not. Well, you know how she feels about it. So we cried foul from the very beginning. Look, that review panel is compromised, and you need to redo that, and they didn't. Naturally, they voted. They reviewed these books. They voted on these books behind closed doors. That was supposed to be during an open session, and it wasn't. Violation of the Sunshine Law. A lot of that stuff they did with that book review committee was out of view of the public, behind closed doors. The public didn't know anything about it until they announced, okay, well, we reviewed these 5 or 6 books, and this is what we decided. And they were like, wait a minute. They wouldn't even tell us how they voted. They voted in secret. These 5 review panel members, they voted in secret. And that's another thing. All the votes, and this is according to law. This is chapter 610.021. All their votes are supposed to be in public, right? Again, because who do they work for? The public. So they're supposed to be
So how are they
doing
getting by with this?
because nobody's holding them accountable. They're not supposed to do that, and they know that. We've told them that. He told them again last night. So anyway, it's just shenanigans, back and forth. And so because they know we have no authority over them, they're the school board, they're the high and mighties. You see, they think they're untouchable, and so they pull these stunts. Again, my opinion, but I've got a lot of I can back it all up because we've got documents, we've got emails, we've got videos, recorded videos from the school board meetings. Here's another thing. Okay, why doesn't the school board record their own meetings? They don't want to be on camera. Why don't you know? If a person's afraid to speak on the record, especially if you're a public servant, you know, then there's a problem. You know, because you work for us. How do we hold you accountable if we don't know what you're doing?
Sounds like that would be a great thing for a student
Well, and you're right.
or extracurricular something.
Suggested that. You know, have the I don't know what the whatever class that may the journalism class or whatever. Have them come in and teach them how to record. Teach them about the equipment to set up. Teach them how to edit. Teach them how to post it online. Publish it. Yeah, it's a great learning experience for the kids. But they won't do that. We've suggested that. They won't do that. There is so much at the school board that over the last 11 months I've found is not just wrong, but illegal. The minutes, right? School secretary, the superintendent secretary keeps the minutes of the meeting. She's back there, like a stenographer. She's writing everything down. She transcribes those, puts them in a computer, and then they post them online. They're incomplete. They don't. A lot of them don't even show the votes. Who voted? They may be voting to approve this, approve that. And that's fine. But we don't. If you're there, you see. Okay, well, can I see a show of hands? Raise your right hand if you want to. If you approve this. Well, it's always. They all approve. It's always unanimous. But it doesn't reflect that in the minutes, and it should by law. So again, if you're not at the meeting and it's not recorded, you're not going to know who voted for what, and that's important when it comes time for accountability, because as a board person, you're responsible for your vote, whatever it is, whatever the subject is, up or down, it doesn't matter, but, you should be willing to stand by your vote, and whether it's, your convictions or whether it's, you think it's wrong or whether it's, it's outside of the law, you should be able to defend that, and they don't want people to know. It's all, I don't know. I get so I get so wound up, so frustrated. But that is one thing I really want. That's the transparency part and the accountability part that I want to change. If and when I get elected. So I don't know, boy. It's a mess. I can only do as much as one person can do. But I'll tell you this: I won't mind being the roadblock. Granted, they can, they can get over it or get around it. It'll be a 6-1 instead of a 7-0.
But you know what? There's, just something I was thinking of is a few times I've attended a school board meeting. I know that there are really great people on that school board. And it's like when they do their voting on different issues and stuff, it amazes me that there's not even one person that will have a question or can you explain, or when they go to voting, no, I'm not voting for that, while the rest of them do. And it's not even about at this point that happening, but are you going to tell me that all those people in that room believe the same exact way, that they all agree on the same exact issue? I would say no. And it's like, don't be afraid to use your voice, and I think maybe with you coming in and being that roadblock or being that opposite voice or voice of reason, that maybe some of those other people might have the courage to stand up and say, you know what, Dan made a great point, and I agree with him.
But it's contagious. Courage is contagious, and you're right. And I agree. There are good people on the board, but again, it gets ruined by a few bad actors. It has become a good old boys club, and nobody likes to break ranks. You will never see, at least put it this way, I have never seen in the 11 months I've been paying attention to the school board other than unanimous vote. Every vote that I've seen them take has been 7-0. Everybody has agreed, just like you said. I mean, it's almost like it's groupthink. It's almost like it's pre-planned. Okay, well, yeah, and just like they've got the whole deal worked out behind the scenes, and then they come out, and so, if it's worthy of a yes vote, then vote yes. But if it's not, then vote it down. Or at least object. Raise some questions. Postpone the vote and do some research, do some homework, get some public opinion.
I like that.
I don't know. It's just it's just one of the things that aggravate me and they get me riled up. But it is what it is.
So tell us, when is voting day?
The first Tuesday in April. I think it's April the 2nd. Yeah, folks, please exercise your right to vote.
Also, I just want to stress out there too, when you go and you cast your ballot, that's a private decision that you make,
Right.
that nobody else knows what your decision is.
Unless you tell them.
So if there are people that are feeling like, I'm liking what this Dan Landy guy's saying, it's making sense to me, but I've got some friends that this would really torque off if they knew that I voted for him and not so and so.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage people, don't be afraid.
Sure.
Let your voice be heard, even if it's done in secrecy.
Right. And that's a great point, because there are a lot of parents that feel the way I feel. And I know this because they're on these chat groups, on Facebook. But they use pseudonyms. They use, fake names, fake profiles, because they don't want everybody else to know how they really feel. And they feel that, okay, well, because, I may get criticized, or my kid may get, bullied, or, there's a million reasons why people are afraid. But, and fear. And fear is the motivating factor that people, And so, yeah, I agree. And I'm with you. Please, folks, please. I'm the change you're looking for. If you agree with me that the school board needs to change, I'm your candidate. Again, I'm not a miracle worker. I can do as much as one guy can do, but at least it's more than the rest of them are doing. I try to treat people with respect the way I want them to treat me. And if usually if you show respect, you get respect. And so it's, this is who I am. I've got nothing to hide. I'm just a regular guy.
Well, Dan, thank you for meeting with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's good to see you.
Awesome.
Thanks. Bye.